And then after they left, people started coming back out, and they helped me with, with picking up those cookies that were crumbled. Most of them were crumbled, and some of them, a lot of them had mud on them. But they helped me with the cookie sheet, and I put the cookies. I was wearing my mother's jacket. It was a big old jacket with big pockets, and I put the cookies in the pockets, and I held the cookie sheet. And as I was walking home, I cried. Not because I was hurt. I was bruised up, but I cried because my mother wouldn't have the money to buy ingredients to cook some soup for us, or to buy the ingredients to make cookies for us to sell the next day. But when I got home, apparently my mother already knew what had happened to me, because people were running all over the place, and neighbors came in, and I told my mother I was sorry about what had happened. And she says, "Don't worry, today we'll have cookies for supper." That was the first time I had tasted the cookie, because I didn't want to eat the profit. And then after that, my mother didn't want me to go with her for a while, because I was very bruised up, and she wanted me to stay home in bed. So she took my little sister. I don't know how old my little sister was. She may have been at the time. She hadn't started school yet before the war. So she may have been 7 years old. I'm not sure, really. And she took her, and then I couldn't stay still. When I started healing, I couldn't stay still, and I walked out into the ghetto. And then I got caught into trucks and taken to airfields to shove snow. And of course, if you didn't run fast enough, and at that time I hadn't learned yet to run fast enough, and I got whips on my back. And then after that, it was one truck that picked me up. There were two, all through the war, I encountered two decent human beings which were German. And this was the first one. He was that's why I do believe in people. Not all Germans were bad, not all Polish people were bad. There is good and bad in all of us. And not all Jews are good. So just we all have the good and the bad. And we all hope for the good, but the bad is always sneaking in. And so this builder took a liking to me. He called me Little One, because I was younger than anybody else, and I was shorter, of course, than anybody else. I had not stopped growing since 4th grade. I did not grow anymore since 4th grade. So my height is the same as I was when I was 10 years old. And so, but he took a liking to me, and he called me Little One, and he had me help him with certain things. One time he even gave me a little piece of chocolate. And then it was getting very cold. Poland, the weather is, in the summertime, is nice, very, very pretty, very nice. But the winters are atrocious. They are very cold, just like I would think of Siberia, because the snow could get knee-high. And I didn't have gloves, or I didn't have socks or anything warm to keep me from freezing to death. But I continued on for a little while, and then one day my father had typhoid fever, and it was so I survived that one winter, and then summertime, my father had typhoid fever and he couldn't be in hiding. And so he was taken to the hospital, and then my mother would fix a little food for him, and the hospital was outside of the ghetto. So of course I was the one, because my oldest sister was married with 2 little babies, and she was living downstairs. And my middle sister, my brother had run away. My brother was 18 when the war broke out. I believe he was 18. And he ran away too. It's a long story, but I don't want to go into details because I haven't even reached the camps yet. And so it was just my sister Bella, whom I survived the camps with, and myself. And Bella worked at a warehouse where the merchandise came in, and like I would say merchandise, it was clothing from all different countries in European countries, shoes and socks and sweaters and Russian made of, I don't know, I think they were made with feathers, the Russian uniforms, because Russia is also very, very cold. So the soldiers had those kind of uniforms that were like beddings, and they came in trains, cattle trains, and they came in there, and the girls were running up and down 3 flights of steps, emptying the trains, and then assorting, and then trains came back, and they were taking it to Germany. So my sister had a job, and she had a identification card, and so when she was stopped because that was not inside the ghetto. She showed that ID, and she was able to go to work or come home from work. I didn't have an ID card, and I continued going to the builder because he was building barracks, and we were digging ditches. And one day, again, to assess or Gestapo, I can't tell now anymore the difference between them, came in, and they were, because one German was watching over the other to make sure that the other one is mean enough to get the work done. And so they were, every once in a while, they would come in and check up on the builder to see if he's doing a good job. And then they talked to him, and then they looked around at who's working there. There were several boys and girls working there. So they looked around, and then they looked at me, and they kept saying, as soon as they looked at me, they looked away, and they went to the builder, and they said, what is this here? You know, so he said, well, she's a good worker. And they started laughing, get rid of her, she's no good, she's not a good worker, she can't work, what can she do? And he said, you will be surprised, she's very good, she's learned to be a very good worker. And so by that time, I was helping the builder, he was a bricklayer, and I picked up the bricks and I handed it to him, and he was laying the bricks. So he was also, he was German, but he was wearing a plain uniform. And so those 2 SS kept saying, get rid of her, she can't be a good worker, she's too little, she's too young, get rid of her. And they were really getting angry at him, but he didn't give up.